ago, we have about 22 streetlights still out. They have been prioritized. Those are the few things that we do prioritize is critical infrastructure, and so we're already working on those, and so we fully expect to have those back on hopefully by the end of the day. So good information to have which intersections, but also important to know that they've all been assigned and we have crews already working on those.
Can you also talk about, I don't think you mentioned, but you mentioned it to me, about how you prioritize? It's like hospitals, the first, and then the areas that will provide the biggest amount of customers to restore their power. So can you tell them a little bit about that?
So this is probably one of the most commonly asked questions the mayor receives, I receive, our board members receive is, hey, how are you prioritizing? It seems like you're restoring power to certain areas before other areas. And I'm here to tell you that is absolutely not the case. There are only two general ways in which we prioritize restoration. Number one, critical infrastructure. Think about the airport, Alford Air Force Base, hospitals, water treatment facilities, sewer facilities, traffic lights, and 911 centers. We do prioritize those for obvious reasons, make sure that we have all those essential services up and running. And the only other way that we prioritize restoration is by number. We're going out first to those circuits where we know we have the most number of customers out. It usually takes the same amount of time and effort to restore power, and if we can get 10,000 meters back online, we're going to go after those first, and then triage all the way back down to the individual one or two customers who might be out for the same incident. So those are the only two ways that we do prioritize. When you look at our map, it is very obvious when you see where the outages happen. The outages happen in the older neighborhoods of the city, where we have very large trees, where our distribution lines are overhead distribution lines that were installed 60 years ago. That's where you see a lot more of the outages. It's natural based on the system design. Another question I get asked is, are you going to underground those poles? We are looking at that. We continue to look at this. This is something that we do all the time. Where does it make sense for us to go in and underground distribution lines? It's not as easy as it may look. Sometimes we would have to go back into people's backyards, tear down trees, uproot trees to make way for undergrounding utilities. But we are doing that. We are really exploring how do we continue to strengthen the system by undergrounding lines, acknowledging that is probably not very feasible for us to think that we will be able to underground the entire distribution system that we have from the river all the way up to 96th Street, which is where most of our above ground system is. So I answer more than what you asked me to. But
no, that's fine.
Pretty sure it was in
and I think it would cost a tremendous amount of dollars to take all those above ground lines and to bury them.
It would. And thank you for bringing that up, because it's important for us. We have to balance reliability with affordability and sustainability. In cases like these, in times like these, really, it's about people's lives, right? And so you really can't put a price on that. But it's important for us to make sure that it's not just about money, it's about how feasible would it be for us to underground lines. And it's a balancing act, and it's something that we continue to look at all the time. For our customers.
Thank you.
And you know what, Mr. Fernandez, can you talk about, did the storm push that conversation further?
No. No, so the storm, we've had that conversation for years. I'm mentioning these now because it's on people's minds, but it's something that we, power quality, reliability, resilience, our measures, we have metrics that we measure constantly. This is not a new topic. The storm didn't make us think about undergrounding lines.
It was a historic storm.
It was a historic storm, but we've been thinking about underground lines, and we do underground lines from time to time.
Here, Javier and I are going to answer this together. I got to bring up a question I keep on getting, and a lot of people have said, "Well, the city owns Omaha Public Power." No.
False.
No, I mean, absolutely false. We do not. It's a public power company. They have their own elected board. They said, well, the city budgets and subsidizes OPPD, and
False.
That's false. It's paid for, the ratepayers pay for it. Another thing that I have heard numerous times is that OPPD and the city of Omaha was offered money to bury all of their power lines, but we refused it. And that is
false.
That's another false one. It's the misinformation out there is great right now. But no, that is not true at all. The city doesn't receive money, and neither did OPPD to bury those lines. And so that's just a rumor that's out there too. So they are their own private public power company. They have their own elected board. They have their own CEO. And I'm not that person. So, yes. So no.
We'll work together.
Yes, we do work together, and we appreciate that.
Mr. Fernandez?
Yes.
Do you have, you mentioned that you've had to replace significantly more poles than during the 2021 storm. Poles is the part of that I remember right now, but do you have numbers on like equipment, number of poles you've had to replace, et cetera?
I do, but I'm going to have to cheat here. So give me 1 second.
If it's cheating to look at your notes, that's all I.
It's many things. I'm going to give you just an example of equipment because there's a lot more here. To give an example, in 2021, the 7 days of that storm, we replaced 120 distribution poles. In the first 4 days of this storm, as of last night, we had already replaced 158 poles, and we're not done yet. 2021, we replaced 118 cross arms, the cross arms on the poles. As of yesterday, we had 618 cross arms replaced. Same thing with fuses, a little bit over 1,063 fuses in 2021, 1,245 fuses as of last night. 67 transformers in 2021, 70 transformers as of last night. So it is important to share that because most of the times we're used to reporting on storm restoration based on number of outages, and that's important, right? That's what our customers experience. But it's important for us to dig a little bit deeper on the details in that this storm was significantly different than last one. It caused significantly more damage. The trees, the limbs, everything caused more damage, and it takes longer to replace all of those parts of equipment.
So initially, you anticipated 7 to 8 days out from the storm until everybody got power back. Now it looks like 9 days.
No, we're still looking at 7 to 8 days. We're still looking potentially Friday. The numbers have shifted, so we were expecting to have very few people left on Thursday and Friday. That number has increased. But in order for us not to move further into the weekend, we brought in a lot more people. There were new crews arriving this morning from Kansas, from Lincoln, from other places, so that we can still look at the end of the week to have most, if not all, the power restored.
And why are there still more now than you anticipated?
Again, we use a formula to anticipate the restoration process, progress we make. And that is based on what a typical storm would look like. And I hate to even say typical storm. They are becoming more typical. This storm is different. Just the numbers that I shared with you on equipment we're replacing is telling us this storm was significantly different. So we've had to adjust our formula, our forecasts, so that we more accurately know each outage, each incident is taking us longer time for us to restore, and we're bringing more help to help us restore. We're still aiming for the end of the week, but again, it's going to be a few thousand people who we thought were going to come back online tomorrow. Yesterday, for example, they may come back online today or tomorrow. We're moving things a little bit out into the week with the same goal of finishing up by the end of the week.